Kayla woke to silence, a luxury she hadn't experienced in 3 standard months aboard the Covenant's Edge. Her eyes snapped open, immediately searching for the chronometer display on the wall. The blue digits glowed accusingly. 9:47. She bolted upright, her heart hammering against her ribs. She was late. Catastrophically late. The morning briefing had started nearly 2 hours ago. Director Voss would have her head mounted on the observation deck. Kayla threw off her thermal blanket and stumbled toward the door, her mind racing through increasingly creative excuses. Equipment malfunction? Medical emergency? Spontaneous decompression? Then she noticed them. 3 Kethran cubs sat in a perfect semicircle near her quarters entrance, their obsidian eyes tracking her movement with predatory precision. Their fur rippled with bioluminescent patterns, calm blues and gentle purples that would have been soothing under different circumstances. Rin, the smallest of the 3, sat directly in front, her tail coiled protectively around Kayla's disabled alarm console. "What did you do?" Kayla whispered, though she already knew the answer. Rin's translator chirped to life. The device clipped to her collar, emitting a synthesized voice that somehow managed to sound both childlike and utterly serious. "You were exhausted. We made a decision." Kayla pressed her palms against her eyes, counting slowly to 10 in 3 different languages. It didn't help. The Kethrans were the galaxy's apex predators, 6-limbed hunters whose species had dominated their homeworld's food chain for 60 million years before developing sentience. Their kind had subjugated 17 star systems before humanity made first contact and somehow, impossibly negotiated peace. And now 3 of their cubs had decided to play guardian angel with her sleep schedule. "Rin," Kayla said carefully, employing the same tone hostage negotiators used in the training simulations. "I appreciate the concern, but humans need to maintain schedules. I have responsibilities." "You have exhaustion parameters approaching critical thresholds," interrupted Kessa, the middle cub. Her patterns flickered orange analytical mode. "We monitored your REM cycles for the past 16 sleep periods. Your average rest duration has decreased by 42%. This is unsustainable for human biology." The 3rd cub, Tor, added his own contribution. "The other humans smell of stress hormones. You smell worst of all. It made our hunting instincts uncomfortable." Kayla opened her mouth, then closed it. Then opened it again. She'd been assigned as the Kethran integration specialist 6 months ago, tasked with helping the first generation of cubs born in cooperative space adapt to multi-species protocols. Nobody had warned her that predator cubs would develop protective instincts toward their caretaker, or that they'd act on those instincts by committing what technically qualified as sabotage. "I'm going to be in so much trouble," Kayla muttered, finally finding her boots. "Director Voss is probably sending security drones right now." "Director Voss has been notified," Rin said simply. Kayla froze, one boot halfway on. "You what?" "We sent a formal communication at 6 o'clock hours, informing him that you required extended rest for optimal performance, and that we were implementing emergency health protocols on your behalf. We cited Galactic Labor Code Section 47, Subsection 12, mandatory rest requirements for sentient beings in high-stress occupations." For a long moment, Kayla could only stare. The cubs stared back, their patterns shifting to expectant yellows and greens. "You filed an official report?" "With proper documentation," Kessa confirmed. "We've been observing human administrative procedures." "We learned quickly. That was the problem, wasn't it?" The Kethrans learned frighteningly quickly. Their species had jumped from steam power to faster-than-light travel in less than a century. They absorbed information like organic quantum computers, processing and adapting at speeds that made human bureaucrats nervous and human military planners terrified. But they were still children. Children who'd apparently decided their exhausted caretaker needed intervention. Kayla's communication pad buzzed. She picked it up with trembling fingers, expecting a termination notice. Instead, she found a message from Director Voss. "Received the Cubs' report. They're not wrong, your performance metrics had been declining. Take the day. We'll discuss reasonable accommodations for your workload tomorrow. Also, remind Rin that filing official documentation requires proper authorization codes in the future." She bypassed 3 security protocols. Impressive, but problematic. Kayla read it twice, then a 3rd time to make sure she wasn't hallucinating from sleep deprivation. "He's not angry?" "Humans respond positively to logical arguments supported by empirical data," Rin said, her patterns brightening to satisfied gold. We presented our case effectively. You hacked into my biometric monitors. We accessed publicly available health data, Kessa corrected. There's a distinction. Kayla sat down heavily on her bunk, the absurdity of the situation finally overwhelming her exhaustion. She was being lectured about proper behavior by 3 juvenile apex predators who just manipulated the chain of command on her behalf. And somehow impossibly it had worked. Tor padded forward, his massive paws silent on the deck plating. He was already nearly as large as a human, though he wouldn't reach full size for another 5 standard years. Up close, Kyla could see the concern flickering in his bioluminescent patterns, soft, worried blues mixed with protective reds. "You care for us," he said quietly, his translator barely above a whisper. "We care for you. This is how packs function. You taught us this." Something in Kyla's chest tightened painfully. She'd spent months teaching the cubs about cooperation, about looking after teammates, about the strength found in unity rather than domination. She'd used human pack bonding as an example how humanity's greatest survival trait wasn't their intelligence or their technology, but their stubborn insistence on forming connections across every conceivable boundary. The cubs had been paying attention. They'd just taken the lesson to its logical conclusion. "All right," Kayla said finally, her voice rough. "I'll rest. But tomorrow, we're having a serious discussion about proper channels for expressing concern." "Agreed," Rin said immediately. "Will you teach us more about human bureaucratic procedures? They seem very useful for achieving desired outcomes." Kayla laughed despite herself, a slightly hysterical sound that made all 3 cubs' ears perk up in alarm. "That's exactly what I'm worried about." But she was smiling as she said it, and the cubs' patterns shifted to contented purples and blues. They settled around her quarters in a protective perimeter, their presence somehow more reassuring than any security system. Outside, the Covenant's Edge continued its journey through hostile space, carrying the galaxy's most dangerous predators and their improbable human companions toward an uncertain future. Inside Kyla's quarters, a different kind of peace held sway, the kind built on mutual care, stubborn loyalty, and the revolutionary idea that even apex predators needed someone to look after. And sometimes that someone needed looking after in return.